Hello and welcome back to this week's football review. After international break, we're finally back into club football action. Here we have interesting fixtures, especially in the FA Cup fixtures between Man City, Liverpool, Southampton, Arsenal, and Chelsea versus Port Vale. And over in La Liga, we shall see the clash between Atletico Madrid and Real Madrid at Metropolitano, and also Real Madrid hosted by Mallorca away in the La Liga. Let's analyze each of these games together. Full-time score at the Etihad Stadium between Man City and Liverpool in the FA Cup fixture quarter-final. Man City 4, Liverpool 0, as Haaland's hat-trick sends Guardiola's men back to Wembley. Erling Haaland was back to his clinical best for Man City as they thrashed Liverpool to reach the semi-finals of the FA Cup. Antoine Semenyo also got on the score sheet for City at the Etihad Stadium as they run riot against the Reds, who saw Mohamed Salah begin his farewell tour with a missed penalty in the second half. It was an end-to-end disaster, end-to-end start to the quarterfinal with Abdulkadir Kushanov making a crucial block to deny Salah in the box before Ryan Cherky was let down by a poor first touch while being played through on goal by Bernardo Silva. However, City made the breakthrough in the 39th minute from the penalty spot. Nico O'Reilly was bundled over by Virgil van Dijk, and Haaland sent Mamardashvili the wrong way in the 12 yards out. City did not hold back after taking the lead as Haaland doubled their lead on the stroke of halftime. Heading in from Semenyo's cross before the winger scored 5 minutes after the restart with a dink finish over the Liverpool goalkeeper. Haaland completed his hat-trick in the 57th minute, converting from O'Reilly's cutback. And Liverpool's misery was compounded shortly after the hour mark as Salah saw his penalty saved by James Trafford after Hugo Ekitike was brought down by Mateus Nunes. After a nervy start, it proved to be an impressive victory for City, who produced 2.5 expected goals from 11 shots to Liverpool's 1.43 from the same number of attempts. Haaland was responsible for 1.76 of City's XG total, with the Norwegian putting on a classic display, scoring from all three of his shots while recording the fewest touches of any City starter. Since City's debut in July 2022, Haaland has scored 12 hat-tricks across all competitions, now the outright most across Europe's Big Five leagues, moving one clear of Harry Kane, while Liverpool became the 11th different team that he has netted 3+ goals against since joining the club. Haaland is also the first player to score 5 goals against Liverpool in all competitions in a single season since Mal Letizier in 1993-94 season. Full-time score once again in the FA Cup fixture quarter-final, Man City 4, Liverpool 0. And over in St Mary's, full-time score between Southampton and league leaders Arsenal. Southampton 2, Arsenal 1, as Arteta's side lose another shot at silverware after Charles' winner. Arsenal were hunting a quadruple only 2 weeks ago, but a stunning FA Cup loss to Southampton means they are now playing for 2 trophies. Arsenal followed up their EFL Cup final loss by crushing out the FA Cup at the quarter-final stage, with Shea Charles scoring the decisive goal in a stunning 2-1 win for Southampton. The Championship side took a deserved lead into half-time, following Ross Stewart's prodded finish, but it looked like extra time would be required as St Mary's after Victor Gyökeres came off the bench to score Arsenal's equalizer. However, Mikel Arteta's Premier League leaders were never truly comfortable in defense, and after they lost Gabriel Magalhaes to an apparent knee injury, they were dealt a hammer blow by Southampton's substitute Charles in the 85th minute, ending their hopes of a treble. Gabriel Martinelli had a venomous effort headed behind the Taylor Harwood Bellis, but Southampton did most of the early attacking through Leo Cienza. who had a penalty appeal waved away and failed to get a shot off after Gabriel's mistake allowed him 1v1. Daniel Peretz was equal to Martin Odegaard's 20-yard blast, and the Arsenal skipper then skewed wide from a great position after being found by Martinelli a minute later. Peretz also denied Max Daumann as Arsenal dialed up the pressure, but the Gunners still looked shaky defensively and they fell behind when Ben White misjudged James Bree's cross, granting Stewart time to take a touch before finishing past Kepa Arrizabalaga. Southampton twice came close to doubling their lead early in the second half, with Tom Fellows rifling over and Shenza's ambitious curling bouncing off the top of the crossbar. It looked as though the hosts would rue those near misses when Arsenal drew level in the 68th minute, with substitute Gyökeres steering Kai Havertz pass into an empty net. But after an excellent save from Peretz to frustrate Daumann, more sloppy play from the visitors were punished with 5 minutes to go, with Charles finishing off the inside of the post after another driving run from Fellows. Martinelli and Noni Madueke missed half chances to score Arsenal's second equalizer, and their ambitions for a season are now limited to just the Premier League and the Champions League, having been on for an unprecedented quadruple only 2 weeks ago. Arsenal travelled to St Mary's having progressed from 45 of their 48 FA Cup ties against teams from outside the top flight, also winning 14 of their last 16 quarterfinals in the competition. However, Arteta's side were coming off the back of a miserable defeat to Man City at Wembley, and their defense looked unnerved from the first whistle, with Stewart and Shenses repeatedly threatening in Southampton's left channel. While the Gunners racked up 23 shots to Southampton's 8, they only narrowly edged the expected goals by battle by 1.77 to 1.21, demonstrating their lack of penetration. After beating Fulham in the 5th round, Southampton have now eliminated 2 top-flight teams in the same FA Cup campaign while outside of the top tier themselves for the first time since 1975-76, when they won the competition for the only time in their history. The Saints wore a special yellow and blue shirt to mark their 50th anniversary of the historic triumph, and they can now dream of more Wembley glory after the famous win. Once again, full-time score at the St Mary's Stadium in the FA Cup quarter-final between Southampton and Arsenal. Southampton 2, Arsenal 1. Southampton moved to the semi-finals. And over in Stamford Bridge, and the other quarter-final fixture between Chelsea and the division side Port Vale, Chelsea run riot with a 7-0 win against Port Vale, as hosts run at Stamford Bridge to reach the FA Cup semi-finals. Chelsea silenced the outside noise to thrash Port Vale 7-0 at Stamford Bridge and progressed to the last 4 of the FA Cup. Chelsea booked their place in the FA Cup semi-finals with a 7-0 thrashing, as Blues needed just 64 seconds to take their lead as Joriel Hato fired in through a crowd of players after Joe Gauchi failed to get any distance on his punch from Pedro Neto's corner. Port Vale worked their way into the game and started to get a foothold before Chelsea scored the second in the 25th minute, with Joao Pedro showing great composure to take a touch and finish from close range after good work in the build-up from Neto. And it was 3-0 before the break. Malo Gusto and Joao Pedro combined before the former saw his shot saved by Gauchi, though Cole Palmer's rebound was inadvertently turned into his own net by Jordan Lawrence Gabriel. Chelsea continued their dominance after the restart and went 5-0 up before 70th minute, with Tosin Adarabioyo and Andre Santos heading into the Port Vale goal as the visitors struggled to defend crosses throughout. Estevao, who hit the post twice earlier in the second half, got his goal in the 82nd minute, firing into an unguarded net on the rebound after Alejandro Garnacho's effort came back off the post, while the Argentine then won and scored a penalty in the 92nd minute. After all of the noise around Chelsea this week, Liam Rossinier will be delighted with his players' focus against Port Vale. The Blues produced 4.92 expected goals from 20 shots compared to their counterparts' 0.12 from just 4 attempts. Chelsea became the first team to score 7+ goals in the FA Cup quarter-final game since Liverpool beat Birmingham City 7-0 in 2005-2006 season. Despite the Blues scoring 7 goals, Estevao was the only Chelsea player to directly contribute to more than one, which is 1 goal and 1 assist. And the winger registered the joint most shots, the most touches in the box, and created the most chances of any player, as well as winning 5 of his 9 duels. And that confirms Chelsea progressing into the last 4 and going to Wembley after beating Port Vale 7-0, Stamford Bridge. And now we move to Spain and over in La Liga fixture between Atletico Madrid and Barcelona. Atletico Madrid won, Barcelona 2, as Lewandowski strike late on as champions take huge step towards title. Barcelona may have one hand on the La Liga title after Robert Lewandowski's late winner against Atletico Madrid sent them 7 points clear. Robert Lewandowski scored an 87th minute winner as Barcelona defeated 10-man Atletico Madrid to move 7 points clear of Real Madrid at the top of La Liga. Having watched their Clásico rivals suffer a stoppage time defeat to Mallorca earlier on Saturday, Hansi Flick's defending champions had a big chance to widen their lead at the summit, though they had to come from behind after Giuliano Simeone put Atletico ahead. Marcus Rashford swiftly cancelled out the goal, and Barca played the entire second half a man up after Nicolas Gonzalez was sent off for the last man foul on Lamine Yamal. Barca saw Gerard Martin have a red card, resigned it soon after the restart, and they made that reprieve count when Lewandowski fortuitously bundled home later on. Atleti should have taken the lead in the 11th minute as Antoine Griezmann, who will leave the club for Orlando City at the end of the season, skipped past 2 challenges and found himself in a glorious position, but he can only shoot straight at Juan Garcia. Fermín López then prodded wide at the other end after an incredible nutmeg and outside of the foot pass from Yamal, who later hit the crossbar with a dinked effort. Atleti struck in the 39th minute as Simeone took down Clément Lenglet's hoisted pass and finished confidently into the right side of the goal. But their lead only lasted 3 minutes as Rashford squeezed a shot through Juan Muso's legs after a give and go with Dani Olmo. The host received another blow right before halftime as Gonzalez lunged in on Yamal as he attempted to wrinkle into the area. A VAR review confirmed Yamal was onside and the foul was outside the box, and Gonzalez was shown a straight red card as the last man. And another VAR intervention went in Barcelona's favor 45 seconds into the second half as Martin saw his own straight red withdrawn, much to Atleti's fury after he clearly caught Thiago Almada's ankle with his studs. Musso made 2 saves to deny Ferran Torres, including one stunning stop at point-blank range, as Barca penned the hosts back. But the Atleti goalkeeper should have done better when he parried Joao Cancelo's late effort onto the shoulder of Lewandowski, with the ball ricocheting over him and in. No team has ever won the La Liga title when trailing the leaders by at least 7 points with 8 games remaining in the season. And that is the task facing Real Madrid after a huge day in the title race, with Flick's team taking big steps toward retaining their crown. They had to do things the hard way, and the Blaugrana have now gained 21 points from losing positions in La Liga this season, with only Bayern Munich winning more in Europe's top 5 leagues. They were fortunate too that Atleti were reduced to 10 men and they were not. Given the dangerous nature of Martin's foul on Almada, 4 of Barcelona's opponents in La Liga this season have had a player sent off before halftime, with Manchester United and Lorient the only other teams to play a full half against 10 men that many times. Barca did not make their superiority count though, racking up 22 shots in 2.22 expected goals compared to 6 shots in 0.92 xG for Atleti, who they will meet up again in the Champions League quarterfinals, with Camp Nou hosting the first leg on Wednesday. And that concludes the La Liga fixture between Atletico Madrid and Barcelona, which ended with Barcelona winning 2-1. And over in Mallorca, between Mallorca and Real Madrid, Mallorca won 2-1 as Muriqi dents visitors' title hopes with dramatic win. Real Madrid could not find themselves 7 points of the La Liga title pace by the end of Saturday's action after losing 2-1 at Mallorca. Real Madrid's hope of winning La Liga took a massive blow at Vedat Muriqi fired in a stoppage time winner to condemn them to a shock 2-1 defeat to Mallorca. Manu Morlanes swept into the bottom right corner to put Mallorca ahead in the first half after Kylian Mbappe passed up a couple of big chances to put Madrid in front. Alvaro Arbeloa introduced Vinicius Jr. and Jude Bellingham from the bench as Madrid grew desperate in the second half, and they go level with Eder Militao's 88th minute header. Los Blancos looked the most likely victors at that moment, but they were dealt with a hammer blow when Muriqi lashed home in the first of 5 additional minutes, and Barcelona can now go 7 points clear in the summit when they face Atletico Madrid later on Saturday. There were a suspicion of offside as Mbappe burst onto Alvaro Carrera's pass for Madrid's first major opportunity, but regardless, he was unable to beat Leo Roman when 1v1. A near identical move resulted in Roman turning Mbappe's curler past his left post in the 25th minute, while Morlanes was guilty of a glaring miss at the other end, misjudging his jump and heading over from close range when totally unmarked. But Mallorca's number 8 atoned in the 41st minute, as he brilliantly took Pablo Maffeo's delivery in stride before wrong-footing Andriy Lunin with a composed finish. Roman's duel with Mbappe continued after halftime as the Mallorca goalkeeper made a good save with his feet, but he was finally beaten by Militao, who diverted Trent Alexander-Arnold's set-piece delivery into the top right corner. However, there was one final twist to come as substitute Mateo Josef picked up Muriqi into his right, and the Kosovo international fired a terrific finish across Lunin. Saturday's game featured the two most prolific players in La Liga this season, and it was Muriqi, rather than Mbappe, that came out on top. His late winner was his 19th goal in La Liga this season, with Mbappe, which is 23 goals, above him in the Golden Boot race. That's the most goals scored by a Mallorca player in a single top-flight campaign since Dani Guiza netted 27 times in 2017-18 season. And it meant Martin de Michelis, who represented Real Madrid's rivals Atletico as a player, became the only third Mallorca head coach to win his first 2 home games in charge this century, after Sergio Kresic in 2001 and Javier Aguirre in 2022. Madrid fired off 15 shots to Mallorca's 6, though they only narrowed-edged the expected goals by battle by 1.27 to 1.22, with both teams creating 2 big chances apiece. Which concludes the La Liga fixture that benefits Barcelona in Mallorca 2, Real Madrid 1. Which concludes the main fixtures of Saturday club football. And until tomorrow, and until next time, take care and good night.